Let's go. It's late.
Tell me about it.
Where's Moshe? With the camera, with the phone. Okay. Done? Okay, when Pevav Amid Aleph in the Shusterman Gemara is 86A2. A little bit above midway on the page. Okay? The Gemara says like this: Amar Ameimer Mishmed Rav Chama. Ameimer said the name of Rav Chama. Haiman the Ikola Kesubos Isho Balchayv. A guy that owes money to a debtor, and he owes money to pay his wife for a ksuba. Now, normally the din is, okay, we'll explain in a second. Isla Ada, Isla Zuzah. He has land, and he has some money. He has some cash. The cash is only enough to pay one of the two debts. So he has land, and he has cash. So the din is, the Balchayv Misalkan Le Bezuzah, the debtor, the guy he owes money to, he gives cash. Leisha Misalkan Le Ba'ada. And the woman, he gives the land as payment. Okay? In other words, he has to pay the guy he owes money to, plus he has to pay the wife's ksuba. Now he has land and money, so who gets what? So the din is, you have your phone? Yeah. So the din is like this. The guy he owes the money to, the debtor, gets the cash, and the wife gets the land. And the Gemara says, why? Hai ki aidina, v'hai ki aidina. Because min hatera, the debtor only gets cash. Min hatera, the woman has a lien on the properties. So therefore, the proper thing is that the woman should get the cash, the land, and the debtor gets the cash.
The debtor has a lien on the land too, no?
Yeah, but biblically, he doesn't have a lien on the land. Right. So that's why we say that each one gets what they're supposed to be getting. Okay? Now, but then the Gemara says, what happens if he has nothing except one piece of land? That means he owes, let's say, a guy $200, and he owes the woman $200. And all he has is $200 of land. That's all he has. Who gets it? So it says, you give it to the guy, the creditor that you owe the money to. You don't give it to the woman yet. In other words, you still owe her the money, eventually. But you don't have to pay her now. Why is the creditor more important than the woman? So Gemara said, my time, huh? Because the Gemara says, more than a man wants to get married. A woman wants to get married. Meaning a woman wants to get married more than a man.
Why?
The Gemara says in Kedushin, the expression, Tav l'meisev tandu, min l'meisev armalu. Which means, it's a cute expression in Aramaic. Tav l'meisev tandu, a woman says it's better to sit with two bodies than to sit alone. A woman doesn't like to be alone. So the Gemara says a woman wants to get married more than the man. So therefore, yeah, he owes her a debt of the ksuba. But the bottom line is, he'll pay her eventually. But the guy that you lend money to, he wants his money. And therefore, of the two, would he give you have $200, that's all. So you give it to the guy that is the debt, the creditor. But by the way, you still owe her the money. I mean, it's not there's no chapter 11 or chapter 13 or chapter 7 or whatever it is in Torah law. You still owe him the money. But the Gemara says like this: if you're not going to pay back the creditor, then people won't lend money to others. Women will get married anyway. So therefore, who's more important to get paid? The creditor is more important to get paid than the woman with her ksuba.
That she'll get married.
Mitzvah, she'll get married. Okay. So he says like this: Amalei Rav Papa Rav Chama. Rav Papa said to Rav Chama the following statement: Vadid Amrisim Mishmei Rava. Is it true that what is said, what you said in Rava's name, Haiman Demaska Bezuza, a person who owes somebody else money, the Islay Ada, and he has land but no money. Okay. In other words, what happens? You owe.
Too loud.
What happens? Sorry. What happens if you owe a guy $200? And v'islei ada, and you have land but no money. Okay? Now really the Baal Chayv, we said before in the Gemara, is supposed to get paid cash. Right? He lent you $100, you have to give him back $100. You don't give him land. So now the question is like this. V'amr lei, so the debtor says to him, Zil shkoil me'ara, go, okay, get your debt from the land. I have no cash. I owe you $1,000. I have land $1,000. Take the land of $1,000. Whose headache is it to sell the land and get the cash? Whose headache is it now? Can the borrower tell the lender, you know what? Here's the land, take it. So he says, Amrinin lei, that is this what you, this Rav Papa said to Rav Chama, is it true that you said in the name of Rav that Amrinin lei, we tell the debtor, Gzil zaben at v'aisav hailei, go sell the land and bring the money and give it to the creditor? In other words, is it true that Rav said that if he has land, you just can't give the guy the land? You have to sell the land and bring him the cash. Is it true that you said that in the name of Rava? Okay? Amalei, he said, Loi, I never said it. Rava never said it. What did the Gemara say Rava said? A guy owes somebody $1,000 cash, loan, right? And he only has a piece of land, $1,000. So he heard that Rava, you said in the name of Rava, that you have to sell the land and bring him the cash. Did Rava ever say such a thing? He said, no, he never said it. Okay, meaning you could just give him the land and it's his headache. He can keep the land, he can sell the land, but you're done. So he says, Papa said, so Emily Gufa Duvde Hechava. So, like, tell me what happened that people assumed that that's what Rav said. I mean, it had to come from somewhere that people thought and assumed that Rav said, you have to sell the land and give him the cash. You can't just give him the land. So where did that come from? Amalei told him like this. There was a case, there was a guy owed somebody money. And he had cash in a field. Okay? And the cash, the guy said, is not mine. It's a guy's money. It's not my money. It's the guy's money. And it was a powerful guy. So Bezdin couldn't just take that money. It was a powerful guy. And, Bezdin's not going to start up, but the guy. So what happens? So over there it says, who is Shaleika Hagen, because the borrower did improper by giving his money to the guy. Therefore, they did something improper to him also. Meaning like this. Really, normally, Bezdin does not make the borrower sell the land and give the lender cash. That's not done. Why over there in that case did they do that? Because the fact that he gave his money to the guy, okay? And because he gave the money to the guy, he did improperly by doing it. So therefore, the Chachamim were improper to him. You acted not like a mensch. We're going to make your life more difficult. You're going to have to sell the land and give the cash to the lender.
He borrowed money from the guy, no?
No, he just said it was the guy's money. Now, normally, the Mefarshim say like this. Normally, when a guy says it's not my money, we don't believe him. There's a chazaka, established fact, that what you have is yours. Okay? Kol ma shetachas yad adam shalayu, whatever. Like for instance, how do I know that that's your phone? Maybe it's mine. I'll come along and say, it's my phone. Yeah? What's the answer? I can't just come to you and say it's my phone. Why? Because you're holding it. There's a halachic assumption that if you're holding it, it's yours. A guy comes along, he owes somebody money. Yeah, he has money, cash, and he has land. So the lender wants the cash. He said, no, the cash is the guy's. He's technically not believed by saying that, because he has the cash in his house. What do you mean it's the guy's cash? So because he not lied, because he did something improper, the Chacham say, okay, you don't want to give him the cash, you have a responsibility to sell the land and then give the lender the cash. But that's a unique situation where he behaved improperly, so the Chacham behaved improperly to him and they made him sell the land to give him the cash. But normally, if I owe you money and I only have land, I don't have to break my head to sell the land and give you the money. I can give you the land and it's yours, and that's it. Okay, next. Amalei Rav Kahana, Rav Papa. Rav Kahana said to Rav Papa the following. Okay, we learned before, it's really a big machlekes at the end of Baba Basra, but we learned before, we discussed, if I lend you money, okay, is my property automatically collateral, and is there a lien on my property automatically? There's a machlekes in the Gemara, Shibura D'Raisa, Shibura D'Rabbanan, if it's Minatayr Midrabbanan. But Rav Papa said, there's no lien on the property. I lend you money, there's no lien on your property. I have a mitzvah to pay you back. Priyas B'Chayiv mitzvah. Which means there is no lien on the property. I have a mitzvah to pay you back. I borrowed money, I have a mitzvah to pay you back. But there's no lien on my property. So he said to them, Rav Kahana said to Rav Papa, L'didar da'amarta, Priyas B'Chayiv mitzvah, according to you, that you say, paying back a debt, okay, is merely a mitzvah, meaning there's no lien on the properties, okay? Now, Amalei Nichale De'avid mitzvah. This is interesting. A guy says, I don't want to do a mitzvah. The Gemara is going to discuss a very interesting concept now. Can Besdin force somebody to do a mitzvah? A guy doesn't want to do a mitzvah. Can you force him?
Yeah, divorce is what? It's a mitzvah.
No.
Keep the check at him.
I'm not Chinese.
You force him.
Okay. Now like this. If you hold, if I lend you money, there's a lien on the property, then there's a lien on the property. Then it doesn't matter if it's a mitzvah or not. You can collect the property. Right? There's a lien on it. But if you hold there's no lien on property, I lend you money, the only thing I have to do is I have a mitzvah to pay you back. Because it says hin tzedek, that your hin, this yes should be a yes and a no should be no. I lend you money, I borrowed money, I have to pay back. The guy says, I don't want to do a mitzvah. I don't want to do it. Can Besdin force him?
No.
Well, let's see what the Gemara says. So he says like this, Rav Kahana said to Rav Papa, the didach according to you, the Ameh Priyas B'Chayiv mitzvah, that it's only a mitzvah, meaning there's no lien on the property. Ameh, what happens if the debtor says, Le'nichali David mitzvah, I don't want to do a mitzvah. What's the din? Can Besdin force him or not? Amalei, so the Papa answered him, Tanin, we learned it. It's a brayse. What does it say in the brayse? When does, okay, it says like this. A guy eats chazan, okay, he transgresses a negative mitzvah, yeah? So then most of the time the punishment is malchus, lashes. If he was warned, then he gets lashes. So it says like this, the Brayse says, when does somebody get malchus for transgressing a negative commandment? That's only b'mitzvahs loisasa, by a negative commandment. Meaning, he ate chazan, he was warned, he's going to get whipped. But, b'mitzvahs asay, in a positive mitzvah, kagain, she'em nemle, Besdin says to the guy, asay sukkah ve'ena isa. Make a sukkah, he doesn't want. Lulav ve'ena isa. Make a lulav, and he doesn't want to. Yeah? Makin isa, we beat him until he dies. which means, which is a very interesting din. Normally, for passive sins, you don't get killed, you don't get punished. Right? If somebody doesn't put on tefillin, yeah, you don't get punished because you didn't actively sin, you passively sinned. You just didn't put on tefillin. You didn't eat sukkah, you didn't do lulav. I mean, whatever the mitzvah is, it's just passive, you didn't do it. For a passive act, you can't get punished, you didn't do anything. But if I transgress a negative mitzvah, I ate chazer, I did this, I did that, because it's action, so then you get lashes for it. But the Gemara says that when do you get 40 lashes? That's only for a negative commandment. If they told him to do a positive commandment, okay, he's not punished with it after the fact, but while he's still able to do it, we make him do it. We force him to do it. Even if it means beating him up. In other words, like this. By a negative commandment, when does he get whipped? After the fact. After he sinned, so then he gets malchus. By a positive mitzvah after the fact, you can't whip him anymore. But while he's still able to do the mitzvah, you can beat him up until he does it.
Biblical or rabbinic?
Huh?
Biblical or rabbinic?
No, it's biblical mitzvahs.
Oh. No, is it a biblical beating or?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's not mentioned in the Chumash, which means like this. The case, they told him to make a sukkah, make a lulav, right? So, after sukkahs, he didn't do it. Before sukkahs, they told him to do it, yeah? The pearl sukkahs went by, the guy didn't do it. Now they can't whip him.
Because it's after the fact.
It's after the fact that and he's passive, he can't do it. But while he's still able to do it, then they beat him up until he does it.
Is this the reason behind the get?
No, forget the get. So now, 1 minute. So the Gemara says, that's what our Papa answered him. He asked him a question, according to your opinion, that there's no lien on property, it's only a mitzvah. Whatever the guy says, I don't want to pay it back, I don't want to do a mitzvah. So the Papa said, what's the din? You beat him up until he pays back the debt. Bezdin, by the way, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Bezdin can beat him up until he has to, as long as he's still able to pay back. Huh? Yeah?
Applies today?
No. He brings out the banner. Rabbi Kiva asked the question, we should beat him up not to do a negative commandment either. That's worse. By negative commandment, you beat him up after the fact. Right? By positive mitzvah, the Gemara says you beat him up before the fact, that he should do the mitzvah. So he said, but why the negative mitzvah? You should also be able to beat him up before transgressing it. Like if a guy is about to eat chazer, Rabbi Kiva asks that you should be able to beat him up too, that he shouldn't do it. If you beat him up for a passive sin, that he should put on tefillin, and then when he's actively going to sin for sure, you should beat him up. But that's a very interesting concept. You cannot punish for a positive mitzvah after the fact. There's only 2 positive mitzvahs, by the way, in the Torah that are punishable. And they both are kares. No bris milah and no korban pesach. This is called the 2 bloody mitzvahs, dam milah and dam pesach. Those are the only 2 mitzvahs the Torah says that if you don't do it, v'nichrasa nefesh shahi. There's no other positive mitzvah in the Torah there's a punishment for. But here the Gemara is saying, is quoting a brayso that says, if he's able to do the mitzvah and he refuses to do it, you beat him up until he does it. As long as he's able to do it. Once the Yom Tov is over, like according to this Gemara, okay, you beat up a guy to put on tefillin, yeah? Once night comes, it's too late already to put on tefillin, so then you're not going to beat him anymore. After the fact, you can't beat him. Before the fact, you can beat him to do it. After the fact, you can't beat him. By a negative mitzvah, simply the Gemara says you beat him up after the fact, not before. Okay, next. It's not directly related to our Gemara, similar, a little bit. Rami Bar Chom asked the following shaila from Rav Chisda. A guy says like this, a guy hands his wife a get. Now we learned already a lot of times in the Gemara, you can make conditions. If the condition is met, the get is a get, or the kedushin is a kedushin. The condition is not met, then it's not a get, it's not a kedushin, right? Because it's given on a condition. A guy says like this, this is your get, but you shouldn't get divorced after 30 days. Okay? After 30 days, then you will get divorced. That means like this. He didn't say from now after 30 days. He's saying this is your get to be effective after 30 days. That means, when is the get a get?
30 days.
In 30 days. Now, what happened? She put the get in the street, off the street, not mamash shusarab, off the street. When the 30th day came, the get was not in her domain. The get was in a side street. Side of the street. What's the din? Is it valid or is it not valid?
Had she accepted it before?
Yeah, but the get is not a get until 30 days. Now, the question of the Gemara is, the get that's laying by the side of the street, is that a place that she can acquire it from automatically or not?
No.
Well, that was his question.
I thought she had to have it in her hands, both hands.
Huh?
I thought she had to accept it in both of her hands for it to
Doesn't
be
have to be
valid.
in her domain.
Taisus over here asked the question, Tema, the Gemara said before that you could be kind of something on the side of the street. Okay? So Taisus, that's what's the Gemara's question here. But Taisus doesn't answer it. But let's leave with the Gemara's question. Amalei, Einu Megureshes. She's not divorced. She's not divorced. Why? Mid Rav and Shmuel, because of a din of Rav and Shmuel. What did Rav and Shmuel say? Rav and Shmuel Dametavayu. Rav and Shmuel both said that, remember we said before, the Gemara said this is how this case is connected to our Mishnah. Remember, a guy died, and neither his produce on the side of the field, can the creditor go and take it or not? Is it his? Is it the Yarshim? Do the kids get it? Do they inherit it? Or is it the owner still in the... Okay. So he said like this. When the produce is piled up and in the public domain when the father dies, then the kids never get it. The heirs never acquired it because they can't acquire something from the street. So therefore the kids never got it. So then who gets it? The creditor that went and picked up the fruits. And that was the Gemara's discussion before. A guy dies, he owes people money, okay, and there's fruit he has in the field. So the question, if the heirs get it, then it belongs to them, then not to the creditors. If the kids don't inherit it, and the guy went and took the stuff in the field, then it's free for all. So he can collect his debt. But Rav and Shmuel said that if the stuff is bundled in the street, the kids don't get it, so therefore the heirs don't get it, the Yoshim don't get it, so therefore the creditor can get it. And he says here, therefore the sides of the street are like a street. This is what Gemara's thinking now. Therefore, nobody acquires anything from the side of the street, correct? If nobody can acquire, heirs can't acquire the inheritance of the father, things laying on the side of the street, then a woman can't acquire her get either. What's the case over here? A guy gives a get to his wife and said it's not effective for 30 days. That means after 30 days, for this get to be effective, she has to acquire it. It didn't help when he gave it to 30 days ago because he said it's not being effective until 30 days. Then now 30 days is over. Okay? She has to acquire the get. How is she acquiring the get? It has to be in a place that she can acquire.
What if it's in her backyard?
Then for sure she's divorced.
If she's in the backyard.
Yeah, it's in her house, in the back.
In her domain.
In her domain.
She doesn't have to be
The
clothed
question, no. In biblical times, when you're able to divorce a woman against her will, before Rabbi Gershom came on the scene, a man was able to write a get and throw it into the wife's house, courtyard, or just walk by the street and give it to her, shove it into her pocket, and she's divorced. It's her domain. The question is, she put it on the side of the street. Is that enough of a domain that she can acquire it or not? So Rav and Shmuel said, the Gemara said, that the heirs don't acquire the loose produce, right? And therefore it can go to the creditor. Because the heirs don't get it because there's no way they can acquire it.
Who put the get there? The
She did.
Huh?
She did.
She did.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. But she has to be able to acquire it now after 30 days. See if you can acquire something from the street. So she said, okay, I got it from the street. But if you can't acquire anything from the street, like Rav and Shmuel say, that the heirs don't acquire the loose produce or bundled produce in the Rishus HaRabim, because in the public domain you can't acquire anything, or the side of the public domain you can't acquire anything, so then why should a woman get a get? So therefore he ruled, the get's not a get. Amalei, so the Gemara says, Adrabah, Megureshes mid Rav Nachman. He should the woman should be divorced because of a din Rav Nachman said. What did Rav Nachman say? A guy says to his friend like this, Mesheich Podazu, you know, how do you acquire a cow? Money doesn't acquire tangible items. Huh? Pull it, Meshicha. Well, you can't pick up a cow. I mean, technically, if you pick it up, you can also acquire it. Okay, so how do you acquire a cow? Meshicha, it's called, pulling it. Okay, the guy says to his friend like this, pull this cow, but I'm giving it to you, selling it to you, whatever. He says, pull the cow. You don't get it until 30, but it's not yours for 30 days. Okay? So now, when does he have to acquire it?
30 days.
In 30 days. Not now, because it's not his now.
The cow?
Yeah.
He has to wait 30 days.
Now, kana after 30 days, afilu ba'agam, even in a swamp, if the cow is standing in a swamp, when 30 days come, the new owner acquires the cow. So why should this be any different? By the get, it should be my love, hainu agam, hainu tziru Rishus HaRabim. So what's the difference between a swamp? If you can acquire the cow in the swamp, why can't the woman acquire the get on the side street? So why you tell me it's not a get because Rav and Shmuel say it's no good? I'll show you a din of Rav Nachman that you could acquire something from the side.
What if she destroyed it or lost it? The get.
Then there's no get. For sure no get.
One is
Unless if the guy said, this is your get from now after 30
This
days.
is in front of witnesses, correct?
Yeah. But a get would have to be in front of witnesses. Because you need what's called Eid Masira. But if a guy says, though, to the woman, this is your get now to be effective after 30 days.
So it's
That means
retroactive.
whenever 30 days happens, retroactively it's a get even if the get is not existent anymore. Because the get began now, when the get existed, and the only thing that was lacking was 30 days. Right? But our case is, the guy didn't say that. He said, this is your get in 30 days. This is your cow in 30 days. There's no acquisition now at all. So 30 days, it has to be acquirable. If somebody destroyed the get, everybody would say it's not a get. The only question is, can she acquire the get from the side street? So the Gemara says, no. You're comparing a swamp to a side street? I mean, the side of the street? A swamp Agam l'chud v'tzir rishus Rab l'chud. He said no. Rav Nachman would also agree it's not a get. In the street, everybody agrees you can't acquire something. Cannot. This what Rav Nachman said by the animal, that after 30 days you acquire the animal, is because the animal is in a swamp. A swamp is not a public domain. Because it's not a public domain, so then you can acquire things in a private domain.
So what if the cow is in the street?
Then also you wouldn't be acquiring it.
That's where the animals roam around too.
Where? But the swamps. Yeah, but the swamp is not a public domain. You know, the Gemara's basic premise over here is, what Rav and Shmuel say, and the Gemara says Rav Nachman agrees with it, is you can't acquire something in a public domain. Therefore, if the Yerusha is in a public domain, the heirs cannot get it, and whoever wants to collect the debt from the fruit in the field, they can get it. Okay? The guy gives a get for after 30 days, and the get's in the public domain, you can't acquire the get. If a guy says, pull the cow, and you'll get it after 30 days, and the cow's in the street, you also can't acquire the cow. Because you need to acquire it at the end of 30 days. At the end of 30 days, nobody's making a kinyan. You can't acquire something from a public place like that.
Does it have to be his private domain?
No.
Okay,
He gave it to
the
her
neighbor's private
because he
domain
gave
to
it.
get divorced?
No, also not.
It has to be his private domain or the
Her
person.
private domain.
But if you want your property to acquire something, doesn't it have to be your private domain?
Yeah. So it has to be the woman's private domain.
And in this case of the cow, it doesn't have to be the guy's private domain?
No. Because in a swamp, it's acquirable.
Nobody's there.
Because he already made the kinyan, and now where the place is, it's technically a place that you can acquire things
If
from.
the cow is in the public domain, though, it
It
doesn't.
wouldn't, the cow would not be his.
Because
Because,
anybody can grab it.
yeah, no, because he never acquired it after 30 days.
So what do you call the swamp? Colonists?
Yeah. Karma, Siyacha, depending
If
on
it's in public domain, though, and it says it takes effect after 30 days, what's the practical reason why it doesn't take effect in a public domain? Because nobody in their right mind would leave it in a public
Because
domain?
it's not yours until after 30 days. How does it become yours now?
It becomes yours if you pull it.
Yeah, but he pulled it 30 days ago.
Right.
And the guy says it's yours after 30 days.
Okay, now it's in a public domain.
So how does the guy acquire it?
He just grabs it in the public domain?
No, because he's not acquiring. He can't acquire it in a public domain like that.
Why not?
Because the concept of acquisition is when it goes from my jurisdiction to your jurisdiction. What's the concept of acquisition? Kinyan.
Right.
We're going to make a kinyan.
Yeah.
I sell something to you. I give you something. It's going from my domain to your domain.
Right.
Correct?
That's right.
A public domain is not a domain that you can get something or give something to.
But he already acquired it 30 days ago.
But the guys told him it's not effective until 30 days.
So I see, because it's a public domain.
If he said, acquire it now for after 30 days,
It's retroactive.
then when 30 days come, it's retroactively from now.
So that
Because everybody can grab it in the public
I'll
domain.
give you another example the Gemara talks about in Gittin. A guy gives a get to his wife, yeah, and he says, here's a get, it's effective after 30 days. Forget the streets. The guy gives a get to his wife. He said the get is effective 30 days from now. Yeah? When does she get divorced? 30 days from now, correct? Therefore, if she committed adultery after 10 days, she's still a married woman because the get is not effective for her until after 30 days, right? So now she's divorced. I mean, she's still married, I'm saying. She's still married, right? But if a guy gave a get to his wife and he says to her like this, the get is from now to be effective after 30 days, which means after 30 days, she's retroactively divorced from now. Then if she committed adultery 10 days later, even though it's before the 30 days, correct? When the 30 days passed, she was retroactively divorced 30 days earlier. And that, no, Avera, I mean, she's not a tzaddik, but she can get killed for adultery.
Day 11, she can't get killed?
Huh?
On day 11, she can't get killed?
No. Because when 30 days come, she was retroactively divorced. And it's only missing time, which comes by itself. There's no action needed for the 30 days to
So
pass.
she doesn't get killed then.
Right.
So the object is public domain. It's hefker, it's free for all. Is that why you can't acquire it?
Right. Certain kinyanim are, like say, if we're both standing in the street, and they say, pull my cow, and you acquire it, then it's going to work. But here, there's nobody doing anything. The get's laying there in the street. Side of the street. Okay, that's... Yeah, let's just finish this few lines until the Mishnah. Ikadam, other people say like this. Mamish, the opposite of what just said. Same Gemara, just to reverse. Amalei Megoreshes, the Yasser Shaila, right? The guy says this is you get after 30 days and it's in the street. So the first version, this version says she's divorced, like Rav Nachman said, right? About you pull the cow, then he acquires it. It's Kagam Domi. And therefore the side of the street is like a swamp, and therefore just like by the swamp and the cow, the guy acquires the cow after 30 days, the same thing, the woman acquires the get after 30 days.
From the street.
So, yeah. So Gemara says, Adrab, on the contrary, it should not be Megoreshes like Rav. The Gemara is just changing the order. It shouldn't be divorced because of din of Rav and Shmuel. My love, Hainu Rishus Rabim, Hainu Tzid Rishus Rabim. Because logically, Rishus Rabim and the side street is the same din. Therefore, if Rav and Shmuel say in the public domain you don't acquire, the heirs don't acquire, so they don't acquire in the side of the street either. So then if that's the case, how did the woman acquire the get? She also shouldn't be getting the get. So Gemara answered, no, Rishus Rabim L'chud, public is public, and the side street, you could acquire something. Is no, so there's a distinct difference and between the street and the side of the street. So but the bottom line is it wouldn't be good. But Tosfos has a very powerful question over here. The Gemara said before that the side of the street you could acquire things, and here the Gemara is going with a completely different premise that you can't.
Is the answer?
Nope.
What?
Nope.
How do you?
No, it's a lot of times Tosfos does.
So she can acquire it from the side of the street or no?
From the side of the street, the outcome of the Gemara is that you
What's the
can't.
difference between the street and the
She
side of the
can?
street?
Cannot.
Cannot.
What's the difference between the street and
Well, no, I'm sorry. According to the second version, she could.
Second.
Because the side of the street is not the street. In the street, not. And in the side of the street, she could get the get.
That's another opinion.
That's the second version.
what's the practical difference?
Is she divorced or not?
No, I'm saying the middle of the street and the side of the street.
Because one's public and one's not as public.
What's the side of the street?
There's a
side
public...
fence or something?
No. There's a public thoroughfare that people go.
Yeah.
Then when there's overcrowding, people... Like in New York, you drive on the sidewalk
Yeah.
when the streets are full.
Yeah.
It's another case. Now in Borough Park, yesterday, the
Really?
day before, yeah. There's a bus stops, letting off kids.
Yeah. The people driving on the-
Yeah, I didn't want to wait, so he drove on the sidewalk. He only knocked over a few kids.
Sheesh.
But that, yesterday, the day before, Borough Park. But that happens very often.
Really?
So, so you have the Rishus Rabim, that's the public domain. Then you have the side when it's overcrowded.
Sidewalks.
Yeah, well, they didn't have
Not
sidewalks.
sidewalk.
It was a side where people walked when the streets were very crowded. They would walk around a little. So that's not as public as the public domain. So the initial Gemara said there's no difference between the two. The second version of the Gemara said there is a difference, and therefore in the street she would not acquire the get, but in the side street she would acquire the get.
What's the halakha?
What's the halacha? Probably the second version. Yeah, second version.
Which is
By the way, which makes sense because then it then reconciles with Tosfos. Tosfos said the Gemara said the side of the street you could acquire things. That's the second version of the Gemara.
so you're saying that she